Hello and welcome to Mixing Funky Guitars here on the Turtle Leaf Studios YouTube channel. Some of you may have followed some of the other videos where I've been going through a bit of a case study, this song 10 Miles Away by a band called the Upsiders. I am the guitarist in the Upsiders and we're mixing the guitars today, so I am both client and mix engineer in the most sort of conflicting way possible, shall we say. But yeah, let's get straight to it. So we've got a few different guitars. They were all DI'd in stereo using a Line 6 HX Stomp. All of the presets and the patches and stuff were John Nathan Cordy patches. If you've not checked out his YouTube channel and you're into guitars, by all means go check that out. I've taken his patches and then just tweaked them to my own tastes, and that's what we've got going on here. So I'm gonna go to the verse, and I'm gonna start with this Squire here. This is a Squire Strat that I got in the 90s, and I've heavily modded ever since. The patch is called Upsiders Dural. That means it is meant to be replicating a Fender black panel amp on one side and a matchless HC30, I want to say, Posh Fox basically, on one side, and the other it's in mono. Well, I say it's in mono. I've panned both sides to 45 and done the same with the bus. I may or may not change that and make it stereo later, but at the moment I'm kind of summing in this kind of crude way. And we're going to start with some cuts on the EQ here. Let me show you what we've got to play with so far. Hey, CPU. Let's save that quickly. Yeah, that's what we've got to play with. I'm kind of hoping to actually shave off quite a lot of that sort of lower mids, which anyone who's ever mixed electric guitars before will probably think is sacrilege to alter the low mids and take some away. But I kind of want this guitar here, although I think of this as the main guitar in the song, I kind of want to take I want it to go further back, and it sort of sits with an accordion, and the accordion is filling up quite a lot of those low mids. Maybe I can play the two together if I find a bit where they're both playing, probably the chorus. So yeah, there we go. So they're kind of, the accordion is sitting lower in our spectrum of frequencies. So we're going to kind of want to maybe take out some of those low mids so that it sits with that accordion better. So let's do some cuts with my favourite EQ, the Pro Q4. Love this thing. Okay, we're going to start with some cuts, and first thing I'm thinking of cutting is actually kind of probably in the 200 area, and I'm just gonna, oh I have soloed for ease, that's good, and let's give this a go then. Probably help if I got to the right bit of the song, wouldn't it? Alright, let's go back to that verse where there's a real prominent part. Yeah, so this 128 is kind of in the competition there with the accordion. So we're going to take some of that out and we're going to kind of make it a bit of a broader EQ, I think. But we're not probably going to have it all the time, don't worry. I'll probably make it a dynamic in this one. Quite broad, which is going against the rules today, quite a lot of this. And the thing I'm not going to do is I'm not going to actually boost or cut the actual frequency itself, I don't think. I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to try making it dynamic, but we're going to drop the dynamic down. So that way we're not actually cutting out that frequency. Let's try something like that maybe. Looks really drastic, but we're only compressing that much when it really needs it. Probably when I go lower down the guitar neck later in the song, but let's have a listen. Yeah, there we go. So we're taking out a lot of that mud down there that's just getting in the way, as I said before. So the next thing I'm going to try is to maybe cut a little bit of the mid-mids out. So anything kind of around this 1K area. Our human ears are so sensitive to this frequency area, and there's something in there that I can just hear that's just a little on the spiky side. So we're going to just see if we can find that and take it out. There we go. In a live setting that would be really useful, but this isn't a live setting. This is a recording where that's going to be quite painful to some of our ears when everything is together. We're going to just do a broader cue on that as well. And 1.4, do I reckon a bit broader? Yeah, I'll go a little bit broader if I can. No, not. Oh, I did that in the other video as well. I kept saying broader when I meant narrower. So we're going to want something a bit like this. Something about there. And then what I'm going to do with this one is, because we don't want this to happen all of the time, we don't want to have that cut throughout the song, it would sound like this. We can't leave it in because it's too much of a sledgehammer of a sound, and we want this to be more of a backing, but we can't leave it out all the time because it sort of does take away something in the guitar sound. So we're actually going to do something like this. So when when it's not such a big deal, that frequency, in whichever part of the song that might be, we're kind of pushing it back up. There we go. Here's before. So there you go, and that's it thereafter as well. Punch that in halfway through. So yeah, we're kind of making the, excuse me while I shuffle around. So yeah, so we're taking away some of that harshness there and making it a softer tone, but it's you know, not quite a drastic change as we had it without the dynamic. There we go, and I think that is all of the sort of cuts I want to make for now. I might do a little bit of actually I won't. I was thinking of doing a cut on the top here to get rid of any of this air, not to compete with the vocal. But I appreciate that the cue I'll do ends up turning it into a boost as well, so we'll leave that there for now. Now I think it's time for compression. So I'm going to go to, if you've seen my videos, you've guessed it, the Novatron. I love this thing, 3 dials, it's amazing. And we're just going to whack up some compression about halfway, something like that. And we're going to stick it in mix as well. There you go. A little bit extra compression I've just added there because I just felt like it wasn't quite doing anything. Okay, and the next thing I'm going to do is I want to sort of smooth out. This is a funky part. This is me doing my best Corey Wong impression, and I want to smooth out all of the kind of spiky elements in this sort of funk part. So I'm going to sort of boost into the compressor. So giving extra level. Something about 6 dB I reckon would be good. There we go. So it's getting more compression going on, but we've actually also just turned up the guitar, so we need to compensate. And I reckon probably actually take the guitar back a bit because we want this part to be in the background. Could do it with a fader, but that maybe saves me a job later on. Okay, so here it is now. Cool. We're not quite catching all those transients, so I reckon we're going to probably bring back this attack a little bit so that it happens a little bit earlier. The compression's going to start happening earlier, so it catches all of those attacks. And the same with the release, we're going to have a play with that as well. I think this needs to be a longer release, not by much, but a little bit of a longer release, just for those ends of rounds, I'm going to call it. Bum, 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 that bit needs to change. There we go. There we go. So here's it without. And with. There we go. So we're smoothing out quite a lot of those transients there in that sort of very sort of funky, choppy rhythm we've got going on. And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add in some saturation, which, you know, a lot of people think of as distortion. It's really not. It's actually very good for smoothing things out again. So I'm going to gradually bring it in as we go. Here's on 0, and I'll gradually bring it up until I think it sounds good. So there you go. So it's maybe bringing some of those mids back in by adding the saturation in, but it's also just smoothing everything out again. That's the whole point of this Novatron that we're putting on. Okay, let's do some boosts. Alright, and just gonna, don't know why I clicked on that, bad habit. Okay, so we're gonna boost. So we're gonna go over to, I think, the 5K area, give or take, because I want to bring out some of that sparkle. When we bring this guitar further back in the mix, the thing that will really cut through everything else will be the sort of top end, the sparkle. So let's have a play, and I'm going to boost and see if I can find any of that going on there. Cool, and we're going to just sort of give that a little bit more of a boost, I reckon. A little bit more, I reckon. About, let's try a 190. That looks about right to my eyes. Yeah, there we go. And I've just altered the cue a little bit there as well. And that's what we've got going on. But I kind of don't want it to happen all the time. There's definitely going to be bits where I go higher in the chorus, and that's going to get really ice picky, as guitarists often say. So we're going to take the dynamic and we're going to drop it down. And let's go to about here. Let's see how that sounds. Cool, yeah, and I reckon there's probably another one of these around about 6k as well. So we're probably going to end up doing this, but this is going to be probably a narrower one, I reckon. In fact, let's do that off from the off. Let's make it a bit narrower. About. And I'm going to go about that. There we go. And we're going to boost that up a little bit. About 2k. Oh, that's too much. Yeah, let's do about 2k. Yeah. So we're going to give that quite a boost. Quite a narrow boost, which you don't usually want to do. But again, I'm not going to make it happen all of the time. It's only going to be on those specific moments where it really needs it. And we're going to drop that right like that. So it's kind of almost a mirror image, isn't it? Like one of those Monet paintings. Okay, so let's have a listen to that. There we go. So it's just polishing up that sound a little bit there. Boosting when we need it, but also cutting when we don't. And yeah, and there we go. And the last thing I wanted to do is the thing I mentioned earlier, where I was going to take a bit of a slope off the edge here, and we're going to make this quite a more drastic one there. And gonna just do that, and I'm going to use the cue here. I like to use the dials, and I'm going to do a sort of a little bit of a boost, so it just sounds a little bit more natural when we're shaving off anything here that's going to conflict with the vocals, but we're then just giving it a slight boost so that everything sounds a bit more natural. It's sort of you going, that's the top of it. But I reckon maybe want to move that frequency a little bit down. Sort of anything after about 7k on a guitar doesn't seem to really do a lot. Well, I mean, it does, but it's also just getting in the way. There we go, let's give that a go. And let's maybe slightly ahead like that. Okay, and without it. So there we go. So we're telling the audience, admittedly subconsciously, that is the top of the guitar's range there, even though in reality it's not. So yeah, that's what we've got going on there. And I think I'm pretty happy with that main guitar. Let's just have a quick listen with all the plugins off. and I'll put them on halfway through. Great, fantastic. Okay, so that is that guitar done. We're now going to go into that pre-chorus, and we're going to have a look at, in fact, I'm going to go to the second pre-chorus because I know that this part is a little bit more prominent there. And what we're going to do is I'm going to solo this. We've got my Gretsch here, and we're using the same patch as the other guitar, but it's just changing guitar. We just changed to a Gretsch. It's an electromatic, it's chambered, so it's got a bit more of a bigger, broader sound. And if we just take that, put that into context. So yeah, and that's what we've got there. I'm pretty happy with the compression setting on this. Here, I reckon that will work on probably most of these guitars. So I'm just going to copy and paste that over. Same settings as the other guitar. Anything else, I reckon? Well, I'm not 100% sure about any cuts. I think it's actually alright in that regard. But what I would like to do, and admittedly I am going to use a preset here, on the Sound Toys Tremolator. I know I'm using another plugin. Something I haven't used before, and I'm going to go down to a preset I know that will work well for this. I'm going to flick it on so it's in time with the click, because everything was recorded to a click, so I can do that. And this is a tremolo, and you'll see with the panning here that I've got one side is sort of more central than the other. One's at 45%, the other one's at 80%. I'm saying 80%, maybe it's not percentage, but yeah. So, and I've for the longest time while mixing this, I've been wanting to put a tremolo on this guitar. So let's have a listen to how that sounds. Let's see if my imagination is as good as I think it is. Right, here we go. Fantastic. Yeah, I've been wanting to do that for ages. So I like this preset because it's the Rhodes Trem 2 on the Tremolator by Sound Toys, and it's great because it's just gonna bounce panning, sort of, it's almost of an auto pan sort of nature to it. That's what I wanted to do for ages. Add a little bit of movement into the mix. At the moment everything's very static. Eventually I will do a video on how to make things less static and add movement into the mix, especially with all of these mid-range instruments competing with one another. But that is a video for another day. So that, I think, is the Gretsch sorted. I'm pretty happy with that. The next thing I'm going to go to, three more guitars including the solo. Next thing I'm going to go to is this lead guitar here, and again I'm just going to whack that same compression setting over here, and this is a sort of lead guitar part for the intro. Let's go over to the intro. So a little bit of a kind of bombastic intro going on. And yep, I like that compression. It don't necessarily needs lots of compression on a distorted guitar, but I'm going to go with a little bit on that there because I think it kind of suits the genre. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to take out some of that muffling going on that lead guitar. There we go. I think that's all that needs really. Just 150 hertz, take everything out below it. And maybe we do the same thing with a 7K up here. Just as I said before, not a lot going on with a guitar after 7K that's going to be useful in a mix. Yeah, and that's great. That's just kind of softened it a little bit. So this patch, by the way, was a Fender Bassman patch on the HX Stump, which again I got off. Oh, what's his name? I got John Nathan Cordy. Sorry, John Nathan Cordy. And if again, great YouTuber for guitarists, and I just took all these patches. I thought they sounded great, and I tweaked them as I liked. So they are some Fender Bassman patches. So it's sort of a caving in sound there. Next thing to look at is these ba 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 bits, and again I'm going to use that same compression setting. Again, don't think there's too much in the way of cutting. I think if anything it will be the same kind of cutting. So I'm just going to copy and paste that over. We'll try without first and then put it in just to double check. And there's nothing on this EQ. Oh, there is actually. I did do a little play before we started rolling. So here is nothing on. Very choppy there as I kind of slotted some things in time. This intro wasn't done with a click, and it's kind of a little bit hard to play some of that in time. So did some chopping. Doesn't show up in the mix though. Right, here we go. Here's go for the ba 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 ba. This is the main bit that this part is needed. So that's with now on it. This is a DC30 Deluxe Stomp, HX Stomp setting. So that is a kind of matchless there, Posh Vox again. Right, so let's try this with the plugins on and see what we think, and then we'll come to this boosting section in a minute. Yeah, it tightens everything up quite a bit. Okay, and then here I boosted quite a bit of 500 Hertz, and then also did some shelving here. So arguably we don't need this other EQ if we're doing the shelving on there before. So yeah, so take some of that away. And what I did was I boosted 500 Hertz because it was the frequency that this distorted guitar seems to really poke out on. It's quite a mid-rangey sound, a pushed mids you might say, and it seemed to be around 500 Hertz. So let's just first of all make these slopes a little bit more drastic. I do like a drastic slope. There we go. And we'll have a listen with this on. Yeah, there we go, and let's try it without the frequency boost. Cool. I'm starting to wonder actually if we need the boost. Let's have a listen in the mix. Okay, so that's without the boost. Yeah, it just muddies up the mix. I don't think we actually need it. After all of that, what we really just needed was some cuts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put those cuts before the compressor, because I reckon it will sound better. So there we go, and that is that one. So the very final thing for us to look at here is the electric guitar. So, well, I've been looking at, what am I on about, Ian? I've been looking at the electric guitar all day and all of this session, all this video, but this is the solo, that's what I meant. Can you tell I'm new to this? So I'm going to go to the guitar solo, and the first thing I've got on here is again another preset. I knew straight away I wanted a slapback echo on this guitar solo, and I've been wanting it for pretty much ever since we recorded the guitars. I went, yeah, I want a slapback on the solo. And again, I'm just going to copy and paste that compression setting again, so I think it will sound good. And I think I'm pretty happy with any. Do I need any cuts? Let's have a listen. Yeah, maybe do a little bit of a high pass, and just to change things up, I'm going to use a one-band EQ. I'm going to bring that right down, just to show that you don't have to use a fancy EQ plugin that you bought aftermarket. You can just use the stock thing that, in this case, comes with Pro Tools. There's a there. Let's try a little bit higher. Yeah, it's a bit better. I'm happy with that there. Okay, does it need any boosting, do we reckon? I think actually it might be alright. Let me try though, just to see. And I'm going to use we'll use the Pro Key 4 again, because I might do some dynamics. So I'm thinking we're going to probably use around about the 2K mark, which on a guitar it can be quite spiky, but I reckon it might actually help bring the guitar solo out a little bit more in the mix. Oh, CPU, let's try that again. Cool, yeah, that's really helping bring some life into that sound. And let's try a little boost at 3K as well. Make that curve a little bit bigger. There we go. Oh, CPU again. Using a lot of big plugins here. Hey, CPU again. Right, one more time. Yeah, and that ties up very nicely with the melodica solo that follows. Um, so yeah, there we go. Right, so that is how you mix funky guitar and, let's face it, kind of quite heavy guitars for the genre anyway, into this sort of funk pop track that we've got going on here. So we started with this Squire Strat, which we sort of cut out quite a lot of the low mids and some of the mids as well, and made it really bright so that it kind of sits back in the mix, just being that kind of funky, glorified tambourine in a way. And then we've got this Gretsch here, which we took absolutely no EQ on actually, but we did put a tremolo on it for a bit of fun. The guitar solo, we took a little bit of the mud out, added the slapback of course, and a little bit of a boost on some of those frequencies in the sort of 2 to 3k area, just to give some life into that sort of tone. It was quite muddy. We then did the intro lead, where we just sort of shaved off some of the bass and some of the treble, revealing some more of those mids. Same with the sort of rundown guitar there, the done the same thing there, and then compressed it, and there we go. And that is how you mix guitars for a funk pop track. Well, I hope that was useful, and if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments. You're also welcome to email me at ian@turtleleafstudios.com should you want to inquire about me mixing your work. And there we go, that is how to mix guitars, and hope you enjoyed that, and yeah, hopefully see you in the next one. Alright then, thanks, bye.